Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Messengers. We have an astrological check-in day. We are together via Zoom, really experimenting to see how we're going to keep this creative project flowing and running, as Devon is going to be at Burning Man, helping to build the temple, and I will be here in Redmond, being a dad. So, as always, we are going to read our devotion to our patron planet. I got to get my popping screen. Pa, 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 pa. Our patron.
Yeah, it's July 30th of 2026. It is the day of Jupiter and the hour of Mercury. And it's just important for us to kind of point out that we did elect this time around, in contrast to last episode where we just went with it.
We elected, but also, and it's interesting, on one that's more difficult. Not difficult; it's maybe a bad word for it, but something that's new, and so it's a good combination of
Experimental.
the two.
Yeah.
Experimental. Mercury, the quick, the bright-minded, the eloquent, the key of tongues, and the keeper of letters, the thought in motion, the clever, the gracious, the curious, full of wit, the teacher, the merchant of meaning, the patron of scribes, the friend of travelers, the carrier of the word between worlds, the agile, the dexterous, the speaker of many languages, the weaver of bridges, the great. You are the connection between mind and mind. You are the messenger of the heavens, the patron of those who seek understanding, the lamp of honest inquiry. I also ask you in your holy name of the Most High. I call you in your names in Arabic, Utarid, in Persian, Tir, in Greek, Hermes, in Roman, Mercurius, and in Indian, Buddha. Let your clear light fall upon my mind and tongue. Reveal your sphere within and without, that my words may be true and kind, that my study may be fruitful, and that I may carry good tidings between every soul I meet. And so it is.
And so it is. And may my study also be fruitful and my words be kind. Um,
Yeah, I read it
Welcome.
as an I for everybody so they know, because that's my normal thing. So you didn't get the we this time. I didn't translate it. That was just a purely selfish prayer for Mercury. That's it.
Well, I hope it's fruitful for you.
It's going to be great for
I
me.
hope it's fruitful.
Yep,
I,
just me.
if it's fruitful for you, it's going to be fruitful for us.
So we are here today and to talk about the weather, if you want to talk about the weather, or to talk about eclipses. I don't know what you were feeling into with the moment that we have presented.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the full moon last night. The full moon was really powerful. I don't know if you had any wonderful experiences, but I had a really great, you know, uh, beneficial showing to my weekly astrology class that I teach at Unity Community in Central Oregon. And I transitioned from that to a wonderful full moon gathering hosted by our friend
How many
Shriman.
people were there?
Um, huh?
How many people were there?
There's like 12 or 13
That's
people
incredible.
there.
That's great. Did you know anybody or was it all new people?
Oh yeah, there are a few people that we knew from Unity, and then I got to meet a bunch of new people, and we did some kirtan
Nice.
uh, and yeah, and some chanting and some meditation and some sound bath. It was just a whole experience, and it really, for me, it really captured the Jupiter Sun cazimi conjunction. Um,
Love that word so much.
which we've talked about in the podcast before, that the conjunction is the blending of two energies and two bodies. And when you're blending the body of Jupiter and the body of the sun, you get this very pure, spiritual, philosophical identity. Some real like priestly class sort of like energy. And then also you get for us as Libra risings, you end up with this group experience that harbors these energies together because it's in Leo, and Leo's our 11th house of group activities, like-minded folks, and also the house of good fortune. And so it was we had cacao from Guatemala that was responsibly hosted and harvested and brought to us by Sherman, who's from South America originally. And yeah, the whole experience was just so perfect.
That's great. I do have to ask, in your cult, are you going to call people priests, or what are you going to call people in the cult that you're building?
We're not calling it a cult. I thought we're
I,
not calling it
I
a
was just
cult.
going with what you keep bringing up, so I just figured I'd just go with it.
I haven't really decided, maybe we're friends, maybe we're friends of Celine. Uh I don't want to use anything, so maybe I'll take some time thinking about that because I don't want to use anything that splits us into binaries because I want to be accepting of all different expressions of all the different genders of the sun and the moon. And so I think the limitation of the English language around priest or priestess would be just a little bit too structured in that regard.
You want a
So
non-gendered
maybe,
term. You want something that's just more linear, or more encompassing.
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I do have to say that it's actually one of my favorite words I use a lot is just the word facilitator. Not that it would necessarily work for this situation, but that's why I like the word facilitator because it really takes away the concept of like a teacher or importance or things like that. It's like, no, I'm just here holding space, and doing the thing. And so with your priest class, I would say that they should maybe have a similar style of just holding space rather than proselytizing.
Yeah, holding space, opening space, sharing space. Yeah, that you haven't been to any of my classes yet, but yeah, you'll notice in the lectures that I post online and stuff like that that I have a preamble that I go through
Yep.
that is kind of meant and designed for people for anybody to be able to read, and so that anybody could hold that position as reading the preamble.
I will say, if you name anything friends of Celine, my boy, everybody's going to think you're a fan club for Celine Dion. Like, there's no way it's not going to think it's a Celine Dion fan club. I'm a friend of Celine. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
Try to think of a Celine Dion song. Do you know what did she sing?
Is that oh man, I'm so not a Celine fan I'm so not a friend of Celine. I can't think of a
Uh-oh,
Celine
Celine
Dion.
Dion song.
To be fair though, the name is spelt with a C,
I
so
understand, my friend, but we're saying things out loud. We're not spelling
phonetically, yeah,
C's.
yeah,
Yeah.
phonetically.
Um,
Um,
so we were talking about either eclipse or weather.
Yeah, so weather leads into the eclipse, and I think I want to structure around the eclipse. We just had Saturn retrograde. We just had this full moon opposite the sun and Jupiter in Leo and conjunct Pluto and Aquarius. We've talked a little bit about Barbeau's basket on the podcast.
Yeah,
So that's all,
that's a broad
that's all
topic.
setting the
Yeah, we're
stage.
not going to get into the basket today. I mean, there's so many questions I have about that. That's a long topic.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And so I'm just mentioning these things as being like a stage setting sort of a thing. Like you have these frames of astrological influences already in the works. And especially we should focus maybe next episode on Barbo's basket because the eclipse is going to be in a part of the framing of the basket this time around.
Okay.
So
Yeah. No.
it's going to be a strong part of it.
Really quickly, can I say
Um,
something? Can I
Go
say
for it.
near, far, wherever you are? That one. That's the one. That's the Celine Dion.
Titanic, right?
Yeah.
Titanic.
Yeah.
I feel like that's actually kind of appropriate. I feel a little Titanic
Wherever
right
you
now.
are, I could be. That's great. I'm a friend of Celine now. I got it. We're good. Okay.
Yeah,
So for
that's right.
today, though, do you want to start setting the stage for eclipse? Eclipses are something that are important in my chart. I am conjunct. My moon is conjunct with one of the nodes, and eclipses are large periods or important stages of my life many times or moments in my life. And so we were going to maybe look at my chart to give people an opportunity to see how the eclipses can interact with an astrological chart because it's not something many people know or think about.
Yeah, so I'll just say it like this. Basically, the eclipses, we get four eclipses during every Gregorian cycle, every Gregorian year, and they appear at different parts of the world each year. And in the chart, they slowly cycle through the chart over the course. It'll take 18 years, 11 days, and 8 hours for a eclipse to return to its position. So we'll say the North Node right now is recently entered into the last degrees of Aquarius. The South Node is in the last degrees of Leo. These are tropical signatures, just to be clear. And it'll take them roughly 18 years to return to that specific setup.
Okay, and so you said something that actually made things make more sense to me because you say that we have four eclipses per year, but I don't experience, like, I don't have memories of us experiencing that many eclipses. Is that because they only occur over our terrestrial area, like our landmass, every so often? Or
Yes, yeah, exactly. The eclipses happen 4 times a year on the planet, but the shadow that's cast, that's either visible by the shadow cast on the land by the solar eclipse, or the shadow that's cast on the moon by the lunar eclipse, our visibility point of that is different. Every eclipse we have is slightly different and augmented.
so, are there both lunar and solar eclipses? What are the difference? And when you mention the four eclipses, is that two and two, or how does it split up?
Yes, yeah. The eclipse cycle is always compact into a 2 week bop bop sort of a scenario, and it'll either start with a lunar eclipse and then go to a solar eclipse, or start with a solar eclipse and then go to a lunar eclipse. But it's always within a month, Gregorian month period, and 2 weeks one after the other.
Okay, and is it always at the same period in the Gregorian calendar? Like, is it always at August 12th?
No, so that's part of the nodes moving through the zodiac. As I explained, as I briefly mentioned, the North Node
Oh,
has
yes.
recently moved
Okay.
into Aquarius, and so the eclipses slowly move into different periods of the year based on where the nodes are, because what the nodes signify is the mathematical position where the sun and the moon's roads cross. And so when they meet there together on a date, an eclipse happens.
Okay, that makes sense. So I had an eclipse when I was born. The node was the south node, correct? The south node was
Hmm.
Cancer,
Hmm.
and so it will be
And the
18
North Node was Capricorn.
Capricorn, and so it'll be 18 years and however many months and days that you just said so beautifully, until that same moon position comes back to where it was inside of Cancer.
To where the South Node will come back to
Yeah,
that position in
yeah.
Cancer.
The south.
We experienced two augmentations, or two cycles of the eclipses in our charts, and that's called a nodal return, which is Rahu returning to the position of Rahu in your chart, and then we have a nodal opposition, which happens at the 9 year period in between the
Rahu
18 year,
switches
where
over to K2.
Rahu will be conjunct to Ketu. Yeah.
So, if people are listening along, this is a hopefully an introduction into eclipses, and so because of that, could you describe what Rahu and Ketu are, or would you like me to?
Sure. I'd like to hear through our conversations, I'd like to hear what you've taken. So I'd like to hear your version of what we've gone through so far.
So, there are two nodes inside of the map, inside of our charts, like we were discussing a few moments ago. That there's two eclipse points that are occurring where there's a conjunction in between the moon and the sun for a period. And those are represented inside of every astrological chart. Inside of the Vedic tradition or the non tropical tradition, they are called Rahu and Ketu. And so Rahu is the southern node and Ketu is the northern node. And they represent different aspects and different energies. The story goes is that, and I don't know the exact story. Devon would be better with this. I haven't really downloaded it fully yet. Is that Ketu and Rahu are the two sides of a dragon. So Rahu is the southern side of the dragon, and Ketu is the upper stage of the dragon, the head of the dragon. And because of that, K2 tends to be a devourer and is kind of insatiable in many ways, or is it the
So
opposite?
let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and stop you for a second,
Yeah.
because you have their names reversed.
Okay.
Rahu is the North Node and Ketu is the
Okay. I
South
have
Node.
it. I have it reversed. That makes sense. Okay. So that actually
Yeah.
fixes what I was about to say because it makes everything make way more sense. And that was a small mistake that I was making in my head. So
Yeah.
Rahu is the northern node. That helps so much. Rahu is the northern node, and K2 is the southern node. And because of that, Rahu has this insatiable energy that's many moments kind of represented as a desire to do whatever it may be. It's just kind of this energy for desire. And then you have Ketu, which is more the energy for asceticism, right? And more the energy for not seeking desire, which can be as detrimental. Asceticism can be just as detrimental as hedonism in your life, depending on how you're going and what your experience is with those energies, right? And how you're kind of interacting with them. So, because of that, we have the ability, with this knowledge of where these energies are inside of our chart, to call on certain energies or what would be considered Hindu deities by this lens to help us remediate some of the challenges that these energies bring into our chart. And you could be seen as healing the dragon or slaying the dragon. Either one, I could think technically works for what we're really working on. And so they have an ability inside of anybody's chart to be affecting you in one way, shape, or form or another. If you have Rahu in a certain area of your chart, maybe in a certain house of your, let's say, career or things like that, you may struggle with like never really being satisfied and continually seeking for gain and gain and gain. Versus if you have your southern node in your career, you may have difficulty really seeking financial gain. You might rather actually struggle with really stepping into, yourself in the form of your career. And it might be that you're really kind of dampered. Is that accurate in a nutshell?
Yeah, you did a pretty good job there. I would say you can definitely lean a little hard on Rahu towards the materialism, it is a desire, and it's a desire for the things that we would consider the materialistic nature of the Maya, the sex, the financial gain, the material goods, like that sort of a thing. And then yeah, you had K2 pretty good, and I like to say that
Pause
yeah,
real quick.
like you're
Pause
saying.
before you go on to Ketu, because what you said, so what you're saying is Rahu tends to be more material than not.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, like a desire for the
Yep.
material.
Yep. I wanted that to be clear. That it tends to
Yeah.
be that. So if you're looking for how those energies are interacting with your life, if you look at your chart and you gain some knowledge, inform yourself where Rahu is in your chart, then you would be looking for things that were more material in relation to it.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that just the blanket like starting point with the eclipses before you even get into those uh, details about the North Node and South Node is that they are shadows. And so they create blind spots in parts of your life. And so if they're in important parts of your chart, like home or career or personal or relationships or just anything like that, they're going to create a shadow and an inability to feel seen or to truly understand how you're interacting with that part of your life.
So I'm looking right now, and it is in my 10th house. It's interesting. Like
That's
yeah,
that is the Ketu, yeah.
yeah, yep. And then my Rahu is in my it's like right between my third and my fourth house.
It's yeah, it's at the early degrees of your fourth house of Capricorn. Yes.
Okay. And my fourth house is represented of what does the fourth house represent?
Uh, fourth house is a representation of home, history, lineage, and father.
Okay. So if I have Rahu inside of my chart in the fourth house, what would that signify?
It signifies a desire to leave a lineage. It signifies a thirst for approval from father and family and home, and an inability to feel satisfied in those areas, regardless of how much you put forth there.
Which relates directly to my experience with almost every father figure I've ever had and many other aspects. It's very spot on for myself. Question: what if? And now Rahu is obviously important in my chart. Is it important in everybody's chart?
I would say that every position is important in everybody's chart, even when you get into the more modern positions of asteroids and things of that nature. I would say that though I would put the eclipses as equally important as the classic seven planets
Okay. And so during the
and the
eclipses,
angles.
let's take Rahu because we've been talking about Rahu. So we have the shadow that's being cast over my house of career and lineage, not career, of lineage and history and fatherhood. And so I have this insatiable need to be seen and heard, but Rahu's casting a shadow, so it's making it insatiable. That's where some of the insatiable nature is coming from. During an eclipse, is it only two of the eclipses that would be affecting that energy, or all four eclipses are affecting that energy?
So the way that there's a few different schools of thought on this, and the way that I've synthesized everything that I've learned is that the eclipses that affect the signs are the ones that is where the shadow is being cast. And so in this cycle, there would have been a solar eclipse in your fourth house and a lunar eclipse in your fourth house, but they would have been at different times of the year.
Mhm.
So, for example, because Capricorn represents just after the winter solstice, we would say that there was a solar eclipse after the winter solstice in your chart, and then there would have been a lunar eclipse there just after the summer solstice.
Mhm. Okay, and so that you're mainly looking for the main eclipse points are going to be when it's occurring, and it's not every year that that would even be happening for me. It would kind of shift
No,
eventually, right? And so I would have years where the eclipses are less important to my chart.
I don't think so. Well, not for your chart specifically. If you have a chart in the angled archetypal houses, and what I mean by that sentence is if you have the nodes, yeah, even if you weren't born during the eclipse cycle, which you weren't because you're a Pisces sun, and so you're kind of actually closer to the midway point between eclipse cycles. Uh, but if you have the nodes in the first, seventh, fourth, or tenth, then I would say that each season of eclipses is going to bring an alteration into your life that is a little bit more profound than other people may experience because these archetypal angles, these points in the chart, you know, they represent the some of the strongest energies that we just know of the natural world. We're talking about sunrise, sunset, noon, and midnight as the archetypal expression of those houses.
So, you said that they would have a kind of a transformative energy coming from the eclipses. Is that typically what occurs with eclipses? Kind of a resetting, or what, how would you describe the experience?
Um, my favorite way of describing the general impact of an eclipse, of the eclipse cycles, is from my teacher, Austin Coppock, who told us that it is like the stage lights being shut off and then turned back on and the set being changed. So it can be and so that can be very dramatic. You could have a like a murder mystery type play where like the lights go on and off and then all of a
Like,
sudden somebody's dead. Or it could be as simple as like maybe an object's missing and the audience doesn't even notice that the object's been stolen or that something's disappeared that should have been there.
what about nothing changes except the lights just needed to be reset?
I mean, there's also that. I mean, eclipses are also just associated with blindness, and so which I think is a I think is both a uh, metaphysical and just the manifestation of like people actually watching the eclipse and going blind. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I remember being told that over and over again.
mhm.
Have you ever
Yeah,
read Agatha
exactly.
Christie and then there was none?
Say what?
Have you ever read Agatha Christie and then there was none?
No, I haven't read Agatha
You,
Christie.
you should probably check that book out at some point. It's a very short murder mystery novel that's very, very wonderful.
Yeah, and so the sometimes the effects of eclipse eclipses aren't as dramatic or sudden, which is why I like to mention the missing object, because you may not realize what has been altered until you become aware of it. Because once again, these are shadows, and so it's really hard to. One of the ways to think about shadows is that you can see shadows, but you don't necessarily always see the shadow that you're casting.
Okay. All right. So coming into this next season, August 12th is the next eclipse. And so it all kicked off with the full moon last night. This is the lunation cycle of the eclipse that we just entered into. And so if people aren't related, aren't relating directly to their birth chart yet, is there anything on a general basis that is typically felt or seen during an eclipse? You just mentioned some of it, you know.
Well, yeah, and we can get a little bit more specific because we've been talking about the chart, and this is going to be a very significant for the sun. The eclipses are always significant for the sun and the moon, because they are one of the dramatic changes the sun and the moon go through. Whereas the other planets station retrograde and go through their different like movement cycles, the sun and moon have a consistent, persistent like moving forward motion. And so their version of stationing retrograde and things like that is the eclipses. And so one of the things that we're entering into this year is these eclipses happening, especially for the sun, in while it's in its sign of home. And so it's a more you can use the image of a disappearing king, from the castle, whether of their own volition or of dramatic effect. The concept of leadership or the revelation of toxic leadership in your life or of your own actions can be
Society.
transmitted. And especially since this specific eclipse is going to be on the South Node Ketu side, we may want to expect the displacement or removal. And we can also include judicial and spiritual leaders in this manifestation because of how hidden Jupiter is right now, from the line of sight, because it's behind the rays of the sun currently, also in Leo. So anything in Leo while the eclipses are happening in Leo is going to have a personalized effect.
Yeah, I'm just laughing at what the conversation we had yesterday, and leadership changes occurring like right during the time and things of that nature. You know what I mean? And disappearing leaders. Definitely experiencing some of that, inside of my existence and a reset. And so it's just fascinating
Mm-hmm.
how spot on that is in my own existence right now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And also when we talk about our charts as Libra risings, we're talking about the 11th house of community and like-minded people. And so it becomes very relevant to what we're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. What I'm interested in is what it looks like when the stage lights turn back on for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have nothing but positive outlook on that, but I'm definitely going through a stage on and off moment. It's like, oh look, new characters.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And what's interesting too is that though this may be the first eclipse in Leo, the sign across the street from Leo that is also being affected by the nodes, and specifically Rahu, the North Node, is Aquarius. However, the lunar eclipse that follows the solar eclipse will be in Pisces still, because there's a range of 15 degrees on either side of Rahu and Ketu in the chart, of which eclipses can appear. So they have
Okay.
this large shadow that they cast. And so the moon will actually be in Pisces.
Okay. And so what does that mean?
It means that the eclipses that we've been experiencing for the past year and a half coming through the Pisces Virgo axis is going to be finishing up that part of the story. So Pisces and Virgo is more of is an axis that's more associated with the organization of information and then the transmutation of philosophical and spiritual concepts. You have Mercury, the scribe of Virgo, on one side, and Jupiter, the philosopher, uh, and also the I like to for Pisces, I like to use the more of the term of the confidant of the Jupiterian side, because Jupiter in Sagittarius is more of like a preacher, leader, inciter, rally crier, whereas Jupiter in Pisces is more of a consultant, counselor, confidant role, but still from that same sort of like philosophical, spiritual lens.
Okay. So the eclipse finishing out there and we're moving into what after Pisces, and what exactly does that signify? Like why? I don't quite understand why it's important.
Well, it's important because it's finishing up the roles that eclipses have played in our lives for the
Right,
last
right.
year and a
No,
half.
I get
So
that. I understand that part. Yeah.
yeah, and so for you specifically, to take it into a more of a personal approach,
Sure.
because your sun is in Pisces and because your moon is connected to the eclipse points in your natal chart, um, this is going to be finishing up these workload projects that may have been leaning more towards the confident consultant behind the scenes actions that you may or may not have been a part of.
Oh, funny. Yeah, it's spot on once again. Yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Interesting. And we're moving
Yeah,
again.
because it's
Oh, continue.
sorry again.
Nope, you can continue.
Uh, oh, I was just gonna say because it's moving through your house of hidden labor. This is the sixth house that we associate with the ancients would associate with enslavement, and it's where modern day we find things where hidden health issues arise, but also it's where our maybe unthanked work is committed. Um, but it's still in the end, it can still be very supportive of the career. It's just the part of people's career that doesn't get seen. Like you don't see the person building the website before they publish it. Like that's the type of work that
Yep.
we do in the sixth house.
So we're moving from Pisces into what? Because it will be what, a year and a half period of eclipses in the next sign.
Yeah, we're going to be moving into Aquarius, which is a sign that's more associated with liberation and freedom, but also a sign that is associated with the extremely rich and the extremely poor, landowners, land workers, and people that are affiliated with outside the box thinking and maybe rebellious intentions. I like to say about the Leo Aquarius axis that Leo is the sign of the central leadership role, the king, and then Aquarius is the sign of the rebel king.
Well, thank you for that. I like that a lot. It makes me understand it. We are at 11:45, and you have appointments to get to here in a little bit, and so I want to make sure that we're keeping a check on time. Do you have your cards with you?
You know what I do? I do have.
Yeah.
I always have my
Can we
with
just
me.
end
I
it
shouldn't
real?
sound so surprised.
Oh my goodness, I do have my card, my astrological
Oh my
grandma with
gosh!
all of my coins to put the things on it, and 90 other random things in my backpack.
I've got the I Ching. I've got two tarot decks. I've got my pendulum. I've
He's got
got yeah.
4,000 page books. Um, let's just do
I've got a trunk load of books.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do a one card poll, and you can do a quick description of it, and then we'll end out for the day.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. And I think that I think people should go to my Patreon and check out my eclipse lectures
Please.
that I posted. And it'll what I have there is a remediatory guide and meditation guides and things of that nature for you to utilize for the August 12th eclipse to help align and understand the energy and maybe be a part of the stage reset instead of being surprised by it.
Wonderful.
You know how they have those stage hands that like wear all black and you just can't see them moving around on the stage, but they're the ones making all the changes.
Yeah, who are they?
Yeah, that's what I feel like when you're actively participating with the eclipses. in a conscientious, thoughtful way, I feel like that's the type of thing that your spirit guides can do for you.
Oh, they can do a little work.
However, I will say as a warning though that solar eclipses are not for magic. They're not for making talismans. They're not for manifestation work. They're for spiritual insight and internal integration. It's about unifying the cosmic dualities uh, into one personal principle. And I just really want to make that clear because my teacher, or Austin Coppock specifically, shares a story about well, in the Picatrix, which is a classical work of on astrological magic, um, uh, talks about like don't do magic during the eclipse. And someone was like, well, this book is like 1200, from the 12th century. So, what do they know? I'll make a magical thing during an eclipse. And then they ended up going blind until they got rid of the talisman. They made a physical object that encapsulated the eclipse energy, and it caused them to start going blind. And then they destroyed the object and got rid of it, and their eyesight came back. So the luminaries are
Unverifiable
associated with
personal phenomenon.
eyesight. Huh?
UPP, unverifiable personal phenomenon. Yeah,
Yeah.
fascinating.
All
Very
right. So we have what's really interesting here. We have the four. Let's see, can you see this?
four of
See
cups.
this card?
Yep, I see it.
Yes, the Four of Cups. We have the Four of Cups, and this card, this deck has a fairy tales or a folk tale associated with each of the cards. And so, first, the Four of Cups generally points to um, uh, maybe feeling a sense of lack, even though we have an abundance at our fingertips.
Mhm.
And the Four of Cups is also interesting because it's associated with where Mercury is going to be during the next couple of weeks. And so the Four of Cups asks us to count our blessings, approach life with gratitude and wholeness, and start with that in make a list of, if you're feeling a sense of lack, make a list of gratitude, starting with the simple things like even just breath or the waking moment itself. Um, and then in the story in this folk tale, it's great. It's about this nightingale, and all of the people know about this famous nightingale who's off in the woods and is famous for having a beautiful song. And the emperor has no idea that this nightingale exists because he spends all of his time in his castle where
Being
he has no
awesome.
want or need.
Yeah, just being awesome.
And and so he hears about this nightingale and demands that it be brought to him.
Heck
And
yeah,
so
I
they
want.
cage it.
Yeah, of course.
And then so they cage it and bring it to him. And then somebody uh, brings him a mechanical nightingale bird. And he's like, oh, well, I don't need this nightingale anymore. I have this, mechanical one that sings whenever I want it to.
Yeah, not just when it
And
wants to. Stupid bird.
yeah, and then so the nightingale, he releases the nightingale, which is I like this positive side of the story. I was afraid when I was reading this for the first time, I was afraid for the nightingale.
Going to
Um,
die.
don't get eaten. Oh, but
Little tiny fluffy cat ate the nightingale. It's done.
yeah, that's not the way the story goes. So they release the nightingale, and then eventually the mechanical bird breaks, and they try to recapture the living nightingale, but instead it never gets captured again. However, it comes by and sings whenever it feels like singing for the ending of the story. And I think that this is a really great story to have us assess our material desires, our relationship with technology, and what is truly valuable.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Well, I know you've got a day ahead of you. It's been lovely. Thank you guys for listening along. And do you have anything else, Devin, before we wrap out?
No, I think we're on a good trajectory, and we'll check in again, and we'll see how this ends up working out when I am in Black Rock City.
Yeah, and thank you guys for listening along. This is an intro into eclipses. It would be quite foolish for anybody or to think that you could understand or maybe have full knowledge of these processes coming from 0 to 100 by the time August 12th gets here. So, our hope is to allow Devon to incrementally teach us about these processes in a way that's digestible so that you can start really arming yourself with some of these tools, some of these meditations that he has on his Patreon, some of these concepts, so we can have more sovereignty and more empowerment in our own existence.
Exactly. And actually I want to I just was thinking I wanted to tease a little bit about the length of life of eclipses. They live for something like 1400 years, which I'll talk about another time. But this dragon itself is fundamental to the United States two-party system.
Yeah, there's so many things I want to say. Okay, may the fire inside guide you.
May the fire inside guide you.
May you be blessed.